Okay, so assignment 2, I'll solve the first 4 problems, and then the last 4 problems will be for you to attempt. So let's start. We have 6y minus 4x, and then 6y minus 15x, this is negative 18. So to solve this, you check the coefficients of x variables and y variables. So as you can see, when you check the coefficients of the x variables, you realize that they are different. So you can just leave the x variables alone. And then when you check the coefficients of the y variables, you realize that they are exactly the same. But then from the first assignment, we had the same coefficients but different signs. So this is what we want, so that when we add them, we get a 0. So in order to solve a problem like this, you can pick one of these two equations, but not both. Just pick one and then multiply it by a negative or a negative 1. It's still the same thing, whatever you do. So for me, I'll pick the second equation, this one here, and multiply it by negative 1, or just a negative like that. Maybe in the first example, we can use negative 1. So this will remain exactly the way it is. By the way, we have another method which I will not talk about now, but we can discuss it when we open. So when you expand this one here, you have negative 1 multiplied by 6y. Remember, negative times positive is negative, and then negative times negative is positive. So when you multiply negative 1 by 6y, you get negative 6y, since this is positive and then this is negative. Then when you multiply negative 1 by negative 15x, negative and negative is positive, this will be positive 15x. And then when you multiply negative 1 by negative 18, you get positive 18. So now, as you can see, we have something similar to what we were looking at in the first assignment. So in order to solve a problem like this, you can simply add, since the coefficients are the same, but the signs are not. So when you add this one to this, you get a 0. Remember, positive 6y plus negative 6y is 0, because positive times negative is negative, and then you have something like 6y minus 6y, which is 0. And then we have negative 4x plus 15x. So when you add these two, you get 11x. Remember, this is negative 4x plus 15x. And then when you have different signs, you subtract. So this would be 11x, and then you get the sign from the bigger number. And then we have an equal sign, 4 plus 18, this is simply 22. And then this is an equation you have solved before. It's like having 11x is equal to 22. So to solve for x, you can simply divide both sides by 11. And then 11 into 11, this is 1. We don't normally write 1x, just leave it as an x. And then 11 into 22, this is 2. And you're done with the x, of course. So to solve for y, you can pick any of the two equations. You can either pick this one or this one and solve for x. So for me, I would rather pick the easiest because I don't want to give myself extra work. So as compared to the second one, the first one is much easier because the numbers here are smaller and then you have less negative numbers. You have two negative numbers and then you only have one here. So it's better to pick the first one just to make your work much easier. So you can say 6y minus 4x is the same as 4. So now to solve for y, you know that x is 2, but y is unknown. So you can just substitute this into this. So you can say 6y, because we don't know what y is, then minus 4, x is unknown, but x is equal to 2. So we can just put a 2 where we have an x. This is known as substitution. So we can say 6y negative 4 multiplied by 2, this is negative 8, and then everything is equal to 4. And then you can take the 8 to the other side. Remember, this is a linear equation, something you have solved before. So we have 6y is equal to 4 plus, remember when the 8 goes to the other side, the sign will change. Then you have 6y is equal to, this plus this is 12. And then to solve for y, you can simply divide both sides by 6. And then 6 into 6 is y, or you can just do this. And then 6 into 12, this is 2. And you are done. So you have solved for x and you have solved for y. So that means you have solved the entire problem. Next, we have this one here. 2x plus 5y is the same as 16. And then 2x minus 2y is the same as 2. So now, as you can see, the coefficients of x variables are exactly the same, and so are the signs. So this is positive, this is also positive. So the moment you add, then you are not getting any zero here. So in order for you to add the two equations, you can multiply one of these two. Just pick one equation from these two, but not both, and then multiply it by a negative. So we'll multiply this one by a negative sign, because when I multiply the first one, everything will be negated. This will be negative 2x, this will be negative 5y, this will be negative 16. So that's a lot of negative signs. So when I multiply negative by the second equation, then this will be negative, this will be positive, this will be negative. At least we have less negative signs. So I'll pick the second one. The answer will still be the same if you pick the first one, by the way. So I'll multiply the second equation rather by negative 1, or just negative. So this will be 2x. You leave the first equation exactly as it is. And then negative times positive, this will be negative, so this will be negative 2x. Negative times negative, this will be positive, so this will be positive 2y. And then this is a positive number since we don't have any sign, so we can say negative times positive, we have negative 2. So now to solve for y, because x will be eliminated, you can add the two equations. Now, since the coefficients are the same, but the signs are not. So when I add 2x to negative 2x, I'll just get a 0. Remember this, 2x plus negative 2x. So this times this is negative. So when you subtract these two, you get a 0. So now this plus this is 0. So you can either indicate the 0 or you can just leave it out. And because this is the second assignment on simultaneous equations, I'll ignore it. And then we have 5y plus 2y. So 5y plus 2y, this is simply 7y. And then 16 plus negative 2, this is like 16 plus negative 2. So when you multiply these two, negative and positive, you have a negative. So this is like saying 16 minus 2, which is 14. So you have a 14 this side. And then to solve for y, you can simply divide both sides by 7, as you may have guessed. So this will be y is equal to 7 into 14, this is 2. And you are done on the y part. So now to solve for x, just pick one equation from these two, or even these two. So I'll pick the first one. No, the numbers are too big here. I'll go with the second one. It won't matter which equation you pick, like I always say. So you can say 2x minus 2y is the same as 2. So yes, this one has a negative, but I think it's much easier because the numbers are smaller, so you are less likely to make mistakes. So now we know that y is 2, so we can say 2x minus 2, y is known, y is 2, so you can put your 2 there, and then you have a 2. And then we have 2x, negative 2 multiplied by positive 2, this will be negative for everything equal to 2. And then now to solve for x, you can collect the like terms. So we have 2x as the only term in x, and then we have these two constant terms. So we can leave the 2 as it is, and then take the negative 4 to the other side, which will be positive 4. And then we have 2x is the same as 2 plus 4, which is 6. And then to solve for x, you can divide both sides by 2. And then x will be 2 into 6, this is 3. So you have solved for y, you have also solved for x. And now you are done. So don't just solve for y and don't just solve for x. You have to solve for both variables. Okay, so here is the third one. We have x minus 3y is equated to 1, and then x plus 2y, which is the same as 6. So now to solve an equation like this, or a system of equations like this, you check the coefficients again. So as you can see here, the coefficients are the same, except that the signs are not as we expect them to be. So since the signs are both positives, what you do is you multiply either the first equation or the second equation by a negative. So for me, I'll pick the first one because it's much easier to manipulate once you multiply this by a negative, because this will definitely be a positive number. But when I multiply the second equation by a negative, then everything will be negated. Everything will be a negative number. So let's multiply the first equation by negative 1, or just a negative. So negative times positive, this will be negative x. And then negative and negative, this will be positive 3y. The negative and positive, this will be negative 1. And then we have x plus 2y is the same as 6. So now to solve these two equations, you can just follow the procedure from the first assignment, where when you have the same coefficients with different signs, you can simply add the two equations vertically. So negative x plus positive x, this is just a 0, so you don't need to write it. And then 3y plus 2y, this is 5y. And then negative 1 plus 6, this is just a 5. Remember, negative 1 plus 6, you have different signs here, so you subtract and then get the sign from the bigger number. The bigger number here is 6, so this will be positive 5. So now to solve for y, you can simply divide both sides by 5. And then this into this is 1, so you have a y there. 5 into 5, you have a 1. And then to solve for x, remember we have just solved for y. So to solve for x, you can pick any of these two equations. Just pick the easiest for you. So for me, I think I'll go with the second one, because despite having this as despite having a bigger number here, we don't have any negative sign there. So I'll pick the second equation, which is x plus 2y is the same as 6. And then x is unknown, you leave it as it is, plus 2y is unknown, y is known, y is 1. So you can put your 1 there, and then this is 6. So you have x plus 2 times 1, this is 2, and then this is 6. And then to solve for x, you can just collect the like terms as usual. So you can say 6, you take this one to the other side, you have a 2, and then you have x is the same as 6 minus 2, which is 4. And you're done. Lastly, we have this one. So you may not always have x's and y's. It's possible they may give you letters like A's and B's, C's and D's, M's and N's, and stuff like that. So just make sure you stick to whatever they give you. If they give you P's and Q's, stick to that. Don't change them to X's and Y's. So to solve an equation like this, as you can see, the B's have the same coefficients, except that the signs are equally the same. So you want to make the signs different. So in this case, all the numbers are positive. So it's up to you. For me, I think I'll just pick the first one and multiply it by a negative, because the numbers here are smaller. Anyway, you can even pick the second one. You still get the same correct answer. So negative times positive, this will be negative a. Negative times positive, this will be negative b. Negative times positive, this will be negative 5. And then you have 3a plus b, which is equated to 3. So now to solve, since the coefficients are the same and the signs are different, we can add the two equations vertically. So we have negative a plus 3a, so negative a plus 3a. We have different signs here, so we subtract and get the sign from the bigger number. So this will be positive 2a. So we have 2a, and then negative b plus positive b. So this is like negative b plus b. So in this case, you have different signs, so you subtract. Where do you get the sign? You don't. 0 is a neutral number. It's neither positive nor negative, so you just leave it like that. So this will give you a 0, and you don't even need to include it there unless you just want to. And then you have negative 5 plus 3, so you have negative 5 plus 3. So you have different signs, so you subtract. Remember, different signs, subtract, and then you get the sign from the bigger number. So when I subtract these two numbers, I'll get a 2. And then the bigger number here is 5, because 5 is greater than 3. Forget about the signs. So the bigger number is this, so you get the sign from this same bigger number. So we have negative 2. So now to solve for x, this is like 2a is the same as negative 2. You divide both sides by 2, and then this will be 2 into negative 2, this will be 1. Remember again, positive divided by negative, this will be negative. The same applies to multiplication. Now that we have solved for A, we can proceed to solve for B. So I think the first equation is much easier. As you can see, the numbers here are very small. Even if you decide to pick the second one, the answer will still be the same. So for me, the easiest is the first one. So we have A plus B is the same as 5. So now, where you have an A, just substitute your negative 1. So you have negative 1 plus B is the same as 5. So now to solve for B, just collect the like terms. I'll leave my B alone, and then take the negative 1 to the other side. So this will be positive 1. That means B is 5 plus 1, which is 6. So that means we have solved for A and we have solved for B. And then you can attempt the last 4 equations. Oops, I don't know where this mess came from, but I believe you are able to see. So this will be your first equation, your second equation, your third, and your fourth. So we can end here for today.